Hey everyone, it's Tom and Riz here. Surprise for our regular viewers of Ludicrous Feed. We are actually streaming to you live from Melbourne today. A special, in-person episode with Riz. Riz, how are you today?
Yeah, going well, Tom. It's good to be here. Good to see you in Melbourne. We obviously haven't changed the weather since you left from the Melbourne EV show. It's still cold and overcast, but we're here.
So thanks so much for joining us today at a special time of 11 o'clock. We had something on this morning, but we are here for you guys talking EVs as always. So we're here to chat about EVs and renewable energy as always. And a special just a shout out to our sponsor this morning, or sponsors. We've got Riz from Carloop, of course, sponsoring the channel as always, started to empower Australia's electric revolution. Wallbox is also sponsoring us, a special deal for viewers. Can you guys hear us at all? Got no audio. Okay, just let me know in the chat if you can hear us. Otherwise, we'll have to take the mic off. Give us a shout out, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us. Yes, all good. Okay, so we can hear us. Good. So just had someone saying no audio. All right. So back to sponsors. So Wallbox is sponsoring the channel as always. Special coupon code Ludicrous10 in the video description to give you 10% off all products. And also EV is now a sponsor as well of our live streams. $75 off your first rental. Again, details in the video description as always. All right, and if you're listening to us live, make sure you give us a shout out on the live chat. Tell us where you're watching from. And also, if you are watching us on replay, leave a comment as well. And thank you for joining us on audio podcast too. Riz, as we said earlier, nice weather in Melbourne here. A little bit cloudy, but no, that's okay. It's not too cold at the moment here in the lobby anyway of an undisclosed location
Undisclosed.
in Melbourne. All right. Let's say hello to some of our viewers at the moment who have joined us live. So we've got Jace joining us from Northern Territory. Thanks, Jace. Gaffer's on. Hello there. And Mark's joining us from Melbourne as well. Hey, Mark. And Scott's joining us from Lake Macquarie. Hey, Scott. Nice to see you. Tassie Thylacine from the South Island. It's assuming it's Tasmania, of course. John is joining us from Brisbane. We've got Tassie EV1 from Tassie, of course. Hello there. Chris from the Sunshine Coast on holiday here from Perth. Hope you're enjoying yourself. JD Media, yes, we're having a great weekend here. And Neil is joining us from South Australia. And Shalendra's joining us from the northwestern suburbs of Melbourne.
Hey.
Also a Tesla supercharger desert, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've got to talk about that because we'll talk about superchargers and voting soon.
Yep, we will. No, I've not moved in, unfortunately. Still in Sydney. We're just on here on holiday. Well, kind of holiday. It's actually a road trip here, partially supplied by Polestar 2. I will release a video about that experience driving from Sydney to Melbourne in a Polestar 2 long-range single motor, which is pretty comfy, actually. Hello, Kenny there, watching live after a couple of weeks. I've got a dad joke here from Jeremy. What Ludicrous Feed videos do EVs like the most? Answer, the live feeds and the plugs. What do they like the least? The shorts? Okay, well, that's good to know. I don't do many shorts anyway. Rob's joined us. Hello. And Cyber EV says hello there. And Three Musketeers -1. Dynamic duo. Yeah, good name.
Hey.
Sensei's joining us from St. Leonard's in Sydney. Hello there. And yeah, thanks for the feedback on the audio. We'll get that sorted out in the end. So, what vehicle launch were you at? Yeah, no Kona EV just yet, Riz. I think it's coming pretty soon.
Yeah, so just a bit of an update. I know there's been a bit of interest on the channel for it. I got somewhat of a confirmation from Hyundai yesterday that they are hoping to have a bit of a launch either late November, early December.
Okay. Cool.
So for any of our viewers or listeners, keep an eye out for them on the road. I would say they would have a couple running around, particularly in Sydney where they're based.
Yep, excellent. Good to be in Sydney sometimes. Yes, Sensei, I agree with you. It's good to see the money invested into EVs now sponsoring our channel. So yeah, that's great. Thanks. The Batcave, it kind of looks like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Bruce Wayne's helping us out today. John from WA, hello. Oh, new viewer is Jasper watching from Catherine, Northern Territory.
Whoa.
Waiting. Wow, new Model 3 next week. Wow, from Catherine, Northern
next
Territory.
year.
Oh, next year. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
fantastic.
Highland. Yes, it's great. And thanks, Scott, celebrating. Thank you. And yeah, the dolphin, Riz. We should probably talk about that briefly. I mean, is it here yet?
Well, there's been a pod of dolphins spotted on a truck in Melbourne. I had my runners on, but because they've sort of worn out a bit, I couldn't catch up with another gentleman that took a photo of it here near Chadstone. So you'd suspect either they are going to a Chadstone, maybe the shopping center. They may want to do a launch there. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a lot of order holders, a lot of our viewers that are waiting for them as well. So fingers crossed, late October, early November. But when the orders did open, they said September and October. So we're in October. BYD, where is it?
Where is it? Plus, we've got the seal to launch as well. So lots of things coming up for BYD. Hopefully, get their cards sorted. Cards in line to ducks in a row, I should say, to launch those products for us. Yeah, new volleys for you, Riz. Done with volleys now.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that sponsorship.
And Kevin's joined us as usual from Lakeland in Florida. Nice to see you,
Hey,
Kevin. All right, Riz, let's get on to our first article today, and that is this article here, which gives us details of the year-to-date numbers of EV sales for 2023.
Yeah, so I thought we touched on it on Wednesday's stream where we spoke about the top sales in September, EV uptake 8% for the month, which was very, very good. But now we've got a breakdown of pretty much most of the models. When I say most, there's 95% of the models are there. There's some we wait on from BMW. They don't always provide us the EV breakdown on the iX1 and iX3 until probably a fortnight into the month. But what we do have is we've got Volvo selling quite well. They've sold 3,200 EVs for the year between their two models, so the XC40 Recharge and the C40. So they're sort of quietly plodding along with everything. MG, the MG4, they've already delivered 941 of them, and then we have the ZS as well. 2,359 of them have been delivered. Now, just before the stream, Tom and we had a quick look at MG's website. It looks like they've got a $5,000 cashback on the ZS EV long range. So, I guess there's pretty aggressive pricing, which probably indicates they're not selling too many of them. And if anyone's looking for an electric SUV, $5,000 off. And if you're in a state where you have subsidies, that could be a bit more off as well. So worth comparing whether MG ZS or the BYD Atto 3 is the right sort of EV for you or your family members or anyone that's looking to get an electric car.
Particularly in states like New South Wales, where the rebate is ending 1st of January 2024. So now is a really good time to get into an EV. As you said, Briz, cashback, and then you've got the $3,000 rebate, which won't last too much longer. No stamp duty. It's pretty compelling to get potentially a MG ZS EV under $40,000 even. I guess the big story here, of course, is that Tesla Model Y and Model 3 is still the king of the jungle, right? 57% of sales.
Yeah, it's very very aggressive at the moment with what Tesla's doing, and if they see with the Highland, we would not see many Model 3 deliveries in the coming months, but it just means the demands for the Model Y, and we should be seeing a lot more of those.
Yep, and good to see BYD still holding firm at number 2, maker, and of course these are still year-to-date figures to September, so we'll see what happens whether the MG4 picks up its game a little bit more towards Q4.
Yeah, I see a lot of people on Facebook picking up their MG4 Excites, and some of the base models I think are starting to come in as well. So that should be good to see. And we wish all EVs the success, right? So Tom, obviously we did the road trip from Sydney to Canberra in the base model vehicle, and I thought it was a pretty good car for at that price point, particularly as you mentioned earlier with the rebates.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with MG4, and of course we'll segue into the MG4 X Power that was launched recently with pricing. Yeah. But just to round up the story, Polestar 2 is still holding firm as well. I'm very curious personally to see this little battle between Polestar and Volvo, even though they're the same parent company from Geely in China. But it's a very interesting time at the moment because Volvo is now electrifying their whole fleet with the new EX90 EX30 that's coming into the market. Polestar 3 is coming in. So where do you see this happening, Riz? Do you think Volvo's going to take the number 3 or 4 spot over Polestar?
I would say so. Volvo, I think, with the EX30, apart from EV enthusiasts, not many people even know about the car. And like I said, even Volvo's current sales are basically very quiet in terms of they're delivering EVs. They're not making a big hoo-ha about it. So with the new EX30, would be quite interesting to see what happens there, particularly at the price point it starts at. I also got an update this week from Volvo. They have over 1,000 pre-orders on the EX30, which was 800 about a fortnight ago. So the interest is building, and at the moment, I don't think they're advertising it anywhere. So should be interesting. I would say it would be in the top 4 EV makers in Australia by early next year.
Although just quietly on my drive down from Sydney, I did see, as I passed through Essendon Fields, I saw an ad for a local dealership advertising the Volvo EX30.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the first time I've seen it advertised.
Fantastic.
On the mainstream kind of billboard. So yeah, I mean, the price is always, the key with these things. It's right priced. And I'm also curious to see how the Kona will fare with the new updated Kona coming out in Q4 as well. That's pretty good value.
I think so. 55 to 60 grand. If they can price the new Kona at that would be great, because then that competes with the Kia e-Niro, which once again quietly sold over 700 so far. We'll probably get to 1,000 before the end of the year. They're averaging around 120 sales a month at the moment. But Kia's main focus around their EV advertising has been on the EV6, and particularly the EV6 GT, which is their halo car. But obviously, when customers inquire for one, then looking at the price points, they might want to get into an e-Niro instead. And same with Hyundai. If people go for an Ioniq 5, which there is a more affordable variant launching, we would like to think they would price that under the Ioniq 5 base model, which I believe was 64,000 plus on roads. So Kona Electric should be between 55 and 60.
Yeah, you would hope so, to sort of fit into the market there. That's good, Riz. Thanks for sharing these figures with us on The Driven. And it's always very interesting to sort of dissect them and analyze what's going on in the current market. So it's good. All right, we might segue into that X-Power very shortly, but let's just take some comments from the audience. Let's see what we've got here. Yes, so Scott's saying the new Kona EV looks good. I agree. Hopefully it comes with tow rating and competitive price. I think it will. Yep. And Tazzie's saying official tow ratings. Yes, he's heard about that, but sounds low. It's got to be at least 1,000 kilograms, you would think, for towing.
Yeah, it's whatever the current e-Niro has is more than likely. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it would be similar to that, you'd think.
Yeah, hopefully. Ray's saying that BYD number 3. Well, we're talking about manufacturers. So I think BYD is number 2. So behind Tesla, obviously. I think Volvo will start to be very interesting as time goes on. Scott's saying Model Y is just killing it. Yep, I agree. It's way ahead of the game. King of the jungle. SUVs are so popular in Oz at the moment. We need to ground up EV Ute. Yes. BYD might be able to come up with something before the Cybertruck arrives.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll see. Ray saying the Kona needs quite a few things. Although I must say, when we walked around it with Tassie Thylacine, I can see in the chat there in the recent Melbourne show, I was quite impressed actually. Much improved compared to the old Kona anyway.
It looks, I think a lot of people buy cars on the basis of the way they look, and I think the new Kona is quite attractive, but at the same time it has to deliver on some of the fundamentals. But then again, if people are moving from ICE vehicles into a new Kona, I think it would still be quite a bit of a spec up compared to what a lot of ICE vehicles offer today.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's segue into that X-Power story that was launched this week. Where are we? Here we go. So let's share this tab here and talk about the MG4 X-Power Performance Electric Hatchback. So this was launched this week, wasn't it? The pricing of this car.
Yeah, so in August they did the official MG4 launch at the Rabbitohs training facility in Maroubra in Sydney. Then we took the base model out to Canberra and back.
One of the first drives, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Very lucky.
Anywhere on YouTube in Australia. So now, at the time they launched this car, they hinted on a performance model coming before the end of the year, and they've stuck to their word, and they've sort of released the pricing of it at 59,990, which I think, if you think about who they think this car is for, which is those warm and hot hatch enthusiasts. So those guys, the fully sick Volkswagen Golf drivers, GTIs, and Golf R, Mercedes A45 AMG. It's as quick as a lot of those cars. At 59,990 plus on-road, so $65,000 in most states drive away. I think it's good value for an EV, and it's the first of its kind. So we've got to give MG kudos for that.
Yes, that's right. So 320 kilowatts, 600 Newton meters of torque, and the rear motor will deliver 170 kilowatts of that power, and the front can do 150. Assuming with most all-wheel drives, it's differential rears, so most of the time it'll sit on the back. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.8 seconds. That is no slouch. That's pretty close to an upgraded, as we said earlier. We talked about this behind the scenes before we went live. It's pretty close to the upgraded Model 3 long range with the performance boost.
Well, that's right. 3.8 seconds. That's very close. And for a car that comes out of factory with that sort of performance, it would be appealing to quite a few people, right? It's last couple of years, the Golfs and those other vehicles have become quite expensive. So, a Golf GTI is around 60 to 70 grand. A Golf R is approaching 80 grand. So, an electric car of all hot, warm hatches that can deliver that performance in that, it's quite good. And the 64 kilowatt hour battery is, it's a good choice. So that's the mid-spec battery on the MG4.
I personally, having looked at all the different specs of the MG4, I think the 64 kilowatt hour, I think it's called the Essence. I think that's the sweet spot for this vehicle. You get all the trims, and you get the nice 64 kilowatt hour battery. It's not LFP, but the range is pretty good still, 64. And you can charge in 26 minutes apparently, 10 to 80%. Charging speeds of 140. I think that's pretty good. That's quick enough for a road trip.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what would be interesting is once more of these vehicles get out there, I'd like to see actual charge speeds, because we had the LFP car when we did the Canberra trip, and we weren't able to get. We're getting close to 80 kilowatts, 77, 80 kilowatts. So it'd be good to see. But I like these wheels.
Yeah. Performance kind of breaks the orange classic MG4 color. Two-tone black roof, hunter green. I like that green actually.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going on here, but I did a story on this X-Power on the Driven a week or so ago, and there was one spotted in Alexandria at the MG dealership. And in Europe, in the UK, they call this color, I can't remember the exact name, but it's not whatever this hunter green is.
Okay.
It's so interesting how different markets, they'll choose just different name.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if hunter green is...
maybe reference to the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. Maybe?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's... or maybe that's the color of, what you see on the Rabbitohs jumper, the green bit. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's all here. That's going to be a matte paint, I think.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, you'd expect that, with a sort of premium car, or premium for MG anyway, a matte finish. Yeah, look, I think it's pretty good value, as we've discussed already. I guess the question is, will it sway someone looking at a quick car like this to buy this over, let's say, even a rear-wheel drive Tesla Model 3? Now, that's the question, right?
Well, yeah, I guess the key is around the pricing, because majority of the people think Teslas start at about $100,000. So if people can get a sort of, when they're looking at this, if they're looking at this sort of car because they're used to driving a warm or a hot hatch, and then they start doing the research, and then, there'll be comparison videos where people, will find out that, hey, the base Model 3 is pretty good value for what you get. But then if you amp it up to the long range is sort of maybe mid to late 70s. And you can get that car and then another $3,000 later, you can potentially get the acceleration boost, and it will be quicker in terms of acceleration than this vehicle. And Tesla's done a lot to the damping of the new Highland. They've done a lot to suspension and mainly for driver dynamics as well to make it the most fun Model 3. But this car is available now.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's quite good that MG is coming in at that price point.
Yep.
They haven't said anything about when the first deliveries will happen, but you'd think it's going to be before Christmas.
Yeah, I think regardless, it'll be a fun vehicle to drive around town at 0 to 103.8. As Scott says here in the chat here, whereas good luck at the lights if you pull up next to that. I agree.
Yeah.
It's super quick, 3.8. That's no joke, seriously. Yeah, it's going to be fun for anyone who's going to buy that car. And as the EV saying, could be what color hunters wear when they go out hunting as well.
Yeah.
Not that we condone hunting.
That's right.
Maybe, clay pigeon. Is that the plates they shoot in the air? That's all right, I guess. Jono X is saying orange brake cover is plastic, according to UK reviews. So it's not a true brake caliper color. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree, Pranith. There should have been an Essence trim with LFP and MG. That would have been cool, like 51 kilowatt hour LFP with Essence.
Yeah.
The extra trim. That would have been good. Well, given that Riz is here, I might actually segue to this little story here. Well, it's not really a story. It's more of a plug. Riz is kind enough to drive down from where he lives in Melbourne to join us in downtown here to do this stream. So the least I could do was actually plug this particular vehicle that is apparently on sale, Riz. So it's quite a nice looking red Model 3 from 2020.
Well, look, this is not really a plug, but just putting it out there. I just want to find out from an audience, why wait when you can get one today?
Yes.
It's quicker than an MG4 X Power. This has the real power. You can see it's on a track and priced right at $69,420, just the way Elon would as well.
Yes.
So anyone that's looking for a track performance car, I'm selling mine because, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, ordered the Highland, and I have a rear-wheel drive Model 3 which doesn't get a run in. I don't even pay any tax on it here in Victoria, just putting it out there because it gets no kilometers. So I'll be driving a Standard Range Plus for a couple of months until the Highland arrives. So yeah, it's 2020 Model 3 performance. All Ks are highway Ks pretty much. A bit of inner city driving when I come to see the main man, Tom, in person. But a lot of it is just highway driving down to Mornington Peninsula and back.
There you go.
So, and I'm very negotiable, particularly if you're an audience.
There you go. Yeah, speak to Riz. You know his details. It's sitting on the grid at P1, so it's a good car, right?
Well, that's right. I was waiting for Ricardo to come along, but he never came.
He would have been a good endorsement.
Yeah, that's right.
2020, so 3 years old, 58,000 kilometers, as Riz said, only on the highway and to church sometimes as well. So.
Well, that's right. Never taken to track apart from those photos.
Of course, that's right. So have a chat to Riz.
Thanks, Tom.
Let's take some comments here. All right, so what have we got? Scott saying, for me, LFP is the peak for longevity and probably fire safety too, given that that's been a hot topic this month. It's the consensus is that LFP batteries are safer from that point of view.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing. Like, we're still learning a lot about fires as such, and we know as enthusiasts and others that monitor the market fairly closely that EVs are less likely to catch on fire than ICE cars. I think the word, the hint is in the internal combustion engine space. But I would say what MG's launched today may not be what we will have in 6 months' time. So fingers crossed they're listening to this feedback and they're sort of, hearing us out as well, that we would like to see an LFP car.
Yep.
And you never know. They've done that before by introducing a longer range ZS. So hopefully they're listening. And if it makes financial sense for them, because they can buy a whole lot more of the LFP packs and then release a variant like that, I'd say they would do it. So MG is very focused on delivering value from what I can understand, as we've seen with the MG4 being fairly affordable as the base model. So hopefully they're listening and they can incorporate that in.
having owned a LFP battery for both Model 3 and Model Y for the last 6 months, I'm in love with the LFP pack. It's got a far more stable charging profile. You can charge 100% more frequently. It's got a more stable charge curve as well. Seems to be quite quick to get to 100%. And again, fire safety is obviously important for me, given I've got a family at home as well. And it's good value for money, honestly. So hopefully the world will start to get towards LFP. We'll start to see the M3P, that longer range LFP pack coming to our vehicles too. So I think the future is looking bright as well. Where's the LFP coming from in US with the rear-wheel drive cars?
Oh, it's a bit of a guess. It's hard to tell because Tesla thinks you can get, or they're advising customers they can get the full rebate from the federal tax incentive, which means the battery has to be produced there.
That's right.
But yeah, it's a bit of a gray area. I'm not entirely sure, but I think for the Australian market, of course, everything comes from Shanghai.
Yep.
One interesting part, particularly with the LFP packs and the new Model 3 coming out, that has a range of over 500 kilometers, 513, I think. They've made some efficiency gains in the design of the car, and then equipped with the same pack, same LFP pack that tens of thousands of cars in Australia already have. I'd say that would be pretty good in terms of its longevity. So LFP technology is getting better, combined with efficient design of the vehicle. Good range can be expected, and the charging infrastructure is growing. LFP less inclined to degrade compared to NCM packs, particularly when fast charging. So as that infrastructure improves, its LFP should be the way most EVs.
Yep. And just back on Scott's comment here, yes, NMC seems to be picked for high end. Cobalt, of course, is a big issue with child labor, of course, overseas mining this stuff, cobalt. Yeah, I mean, obviously with the change to high end cars, it's got to be the longer range LFP stuff, the M3P battery packs. This point here about Jono saying LFP MG4 is limited to 88, and same with the Atto 3 is limited to 89.
Yeah.
I mean, why? I wonder why, because the Model 3 LFP, Model Y LFP can charge at 170 technically. I wonder why there's a limit on these other cars.
This is the interesting part, right? Like Berlin, a lot of the Model Ys, the LFP packs that are being sent to the Berlin factory are made by BYD. And they're charging faster than the CATL packs. So faster in the way it delivers the power to the pack, keeps the peak speed a lot higher. They're still achieving 170 kilowatts. So I think that's a lot of it is to do with power electronics and the way the vehicle controls what charge comes in, inverters, from what I understand as well. Oh, actually, DC. Do we need an inverter for? Is there a DC inverter in the cars? I'm not sure. But the power electronics are better in a vehicle like Tesla. And then I think I also read another comment from Tassie EV talking about, for example, the likes of Lotus achieving 315 kilowatts in their new, I think it's Altair.
Oh, yep.
But that's obviously not a LFP pack. It's more the NCM pack. So NCM can achieve fairly fast speeds, and we've also seen that with Hyundai Kia products.
Yep.
But looking at the LFP packs that are going into Berlin, 170 kilowatts, easy. So it's vehicle controlled and vehicle electronics.
Yeah, pretty sure there's a straight DC, input for DC fast charging in the car. It's more to do with the AC inverter if you want to charge AC. So that's what you're right. Anyway. There's your comment there from Tassie EV, upcoming Lotus charging up to 15 kilowatts. And as you said, the Hyundai Kia's eGMP platform, 800 volt architecture, you can get much faster rates as well.
But what's exciting about this, that the Lotus development is because Lotus is also owned by Geely. And I mean, this car will be easily $300,000 plus when it lands in Australia. But it goes to show the technological advancements that are bound to trickle down into the other models. Hopefully more affordable models in a couple of years' time, the likes of EX30. But stick to LFP technology if they can. They're just better for consumers, and that's what we want.
Yep, exactly. And safer as well for families and for everyone housing their cars nearby. Let's take some comments from the audience. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I saw 88 viewers, I think, at one stage. So amazing for you guys to join us so early on a Saturday. Does it come autograph? We can sign it if you want,
Wow,
Jez.
it's
The price will go up if we do, but we can. Just kidding. No. What else have we got here? Yeah, so interesting. What about the story on building management company in Melbourne recommending not to install chargers due to fire issues? Wow, that's a concern, isn't it?
Yeah, someone else, one of our viewers also raised this. They're going on a trip around Australia at the moment, and some of the comments they're getting from hotel and motel operators are, you can't plug your UMC mobile charger into our wall sockets because we're not insured for it. And there's a lot of misconceptions going out there, but we need industry bodies, associations, and others to provide the right information to a lot of these businesses, and also for insurance companies to do the right thing and talk to their customers that are insuring these buildings. That yes, EVs are new, and there's a lot that we know, but there's a lot we don't.
Yep.
But at the same time, the misconceptions that are being put out there, we just need to verify it with real data and advise these business owners so they're not misleading their customers, who then get frustrated and won't come back and spend their money at these buildings or venues because they don't have an EV charger.
Can I highly recommend anyone who's concerned about this to go and watch or explore the channel called EV Fire Safe. They're on LinkedIn, they're on YouTube. It's a good friend of mine and Riz's Emma Sutcliffe. She is now the CEO of this organization. She's a great voice in the industry, a very credible firefighter herself. She has done a lot of research and has got a team behind her researching fire safety in EVs and also e-mobility, light electric vehicles as well. Get your facts straight. If you're a building authority, a building code, have a look at that, because the facts are the facts. It's only been 4 verified fires in Australia from EVs, and only 1 that's been on the road. Nothing from charging as yet that we know. So get yourself educated. evfiresafe.com, highly recommended it. Have a look at it, and hopefully that body will start to help other strata, building code, those kind of things to be smarter about legislating in their little environment when it comes to EV safety. I'll just give a plug to this hotel here, which I'll tell you what it is when we release that video. They were very kind enough to let me charge the Polestar 2 in this hotel overnight. In fact, they sort of asked me to do it because I was going to ask permission, but someone down there, one of the staff, said, no, please plug it in by all means. We've had people do that in the past. So at least some hotels are a bit more proactive when it comes to doing that. So thank you to this hotel for letting me do that. All right, let's take some more comments real quick. Let's have a look. Yeah, so Gaffer saying Tesla had ethically sourced cobalt. Yeah, that's one point. Yep.
I think Elon Musk said in a couple of one of the investor calls, or at the investor day, he said, given the communities that worried about where we source our cobalt and other things, we'll install cameras at all of those mines. So let's see if that happens. In terms of transparency, there's also Tesla's impact report that comes out every year, and it talks about these issues as well as other environmental and social issues that go into the whole life cycle of an EV. So I think it's worth highlighting those things, and I would like to think Tesla themselves do more to educate, even through their social media sort of different channels on X, and to start to put out some of that real stuff, extracts out of that report to say our cobalt is, or whatever they have, because the more people know, the more general public know, the less they're likely to point finger that the EVs are harmful for the environment and for social.
And a lot of these facts, a lot of these comments are actually based off really old data from like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, things move so quickly in this industry, you need to keep yourself up to date as to what's actually happening. So if someone says to you cobalt, well, look, LFP batteries don't actually have any cobalt. So that's the kind of thing you need to keep yourself updated with too. JD's test driving an MG4. Let us know how you go next week. And let's see. Mark, you got a good point here. How to deal with the fires in those apartments is important as well. Again, that's where EV Fire Safe comes in really, really handy. They've got all those resources as firefighters themselves. Yeah, e-scooters are becoming an issue too. There's
Yeah.
a lot more light mobility electric vehicles in the Australian market, so they're actually far more dangerous as well. And Scott makes a good point. If wall boxes are installed correctly, then it should be okay. And John Lambert's saying work has banned e-scooters from being stored or charged in any of the buildings. Yep,
Oh,
interesting. Yes, and thank you, Ujon. First time joining live.
Hey.
Cool. A nice guy, but with petrol prices rising, I can see why EV would make sense. Yeah, you're not alone. I think, Ujon, a lot of people are looking at that. Please keep up the good work. Thank you. Will do. And what else have we got here? So we've got, not us saying we've got 320 kilowatt AC chargers installed by Jet Charge connected to ChargeFox in our Strata building. That's great. Excellent. Okay, well, speaking of wall boxes, I might just quickly take a little break and just thank our sponsors, as always, halfway through the show. If you've just joined us live, we are sponsored nowadays by Carloop, Riz, data to empower Australia's EV revolution. Wallbox is now sponsoring us too, so check out the video description for a 10% off coupon code in the video description. And EV is now a new sponsor too. Thank you very much, EV. Look for a coupon code for $75 off your first rental as well. So check all those details in the video description as always. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on, Riz. Shall we talk about next, do you think?
Maybe the Cybertruck.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's put that up there.
So it's a lot's happened, and it's looking like it's getting closer and closer to.
Okay, let's have a look at this tab here. So yes, so Cybertruck sighted with apparent Starlink. Okay.
Yeah. That is very cool.
Okay, photos shared recently. 2 Cybertruck units wrapped in colourful graffiti. There's a lot of wraps going on with the Cybertruck. On the roof seems to be a Starlink dish as well. This thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, well that'd be the ultimate,
off-road,
right? Off-road, yeah, internet access, built like a Cybertruck.
Right, and yeah.
We could probably live stream from that thing, couldn't we, one day?
Well, that's right. It's it should be pretty exciting when it comes in. And if and when it comes into it. So Nash, if you're watching, I hope you're doing your lobbying right now with Elon to make sure it gets here. But that is a pretty cool wrap. And I guess what Tesla is doing, apart from getting quite a bit of publicity about their new vehicle, is, showcasing what people can do with them. But I wouldn't be surprised, if Tesla adds these wraps. Like there's thousands of people that may want something like that.
Yeah.
Or have their name written on the side of it.
Exactly. If you're going to buy a car like that, you might as well wrap it or put something, you personalized on that anyway. Sticking with Cybertruck, this is a story here from Tesla Righty. Tesla stacks massive supply of Cybertruck castings, hinting production is near.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Q3 deliveries. We're past Q3 now into Q4. So hopefully they're getting very close. Just overnight, I think I also saw a drone video from, I believe it was probably from Joe, who does regular flyovers in Texas, where there is what he calls a master candidate of, maybe one of the first ones to be delivered. So yeah, should be interesting because the seats were like wrapped in plastic, like it's ready for first deliveries as such. So should be good to see, and we'll share that next time.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, certainly getting close in the US, but again, we need to get someone like Nash to advocate for that to come here. In Australia, he's got about 20 on order anyway, so he'd be the one person that can help us. All right, let's see. What else can we chat about at the moment? Let's talk about this one. So this is the Tesla Semi doing 1,723 kilometers, 32 kilometers in a single day, independent trial by Pepsi. Amazing.
Fascinating to see. So we've touched on this in some of our other streams. They've North American Council for Freight Efficiency, NACFE, have been doing these tests with different electric fleet of trucks and vans. And the Semi on day 17, one of the 3 semis they're testing, did over 1,076 miles, which is equivalent to 1,732 kilometers in a single day with 3 charges. So yeah, quite good to see. 2 shorter charges and then one sort of larger charge might have been around lunchtime for driver's lunch break. So yeah, just impressive. They haven't released the full report of these whole trials, but they've put out a note saying most of these vehicles were loaded with between 60 and 70,000 pounds, which is 30 31 odd tons. So yeah, very impressive. And then for those that haven't seen this, Jay Leno did a video, Jay Leno's Garage. That's also being put out there, showcasing just what this vehicle can do, and how easy it is. According to Leno, it's as easy as driving his Model S.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it looks pretty easy to drive, right? I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine driving a diesel truck, but this one looks like just driving a toy car, really. So
And they reckon the turning circle is the same as a Model Y.
that's incredible.
So that's
Amazing. I just want to point out too that this kind of pattern of charging is kind of replicated by EV drivers every day if they
Yeah.
drive long distance, right? Sort of
Mhm.
two small charges and then one big one at lunchtime to coincide with your meal. It works out for me as a person who drives that kind of distance sometimes. And look at that, 92.6% of the time it was done at speeds over 80 kilometers an hour. So it's not like it was hypermiling too much. It was still
Yeah.
driving at speed, really. So yeah, good to see that, and it's done independently, this testing as
Yes.
well, which is good. Some chat I can see in the live chat about charging at 10 amps for too long. Scott makes a good point here. Charging 10 amps, make sure you've got a decently rated extension cord. If you're going to use that, I wouldn't use anything that's sort of standard. Make sure it's rated properly, as Scott says. And yeah, so a lot of mistruth, unfortunately, about that. So good to maybe good to get yourself educated about this kind of thing. I will give a shout out to Hunter, who says, Outback Hunter, hi guys, can we have a shout out to the World's Solar Challenge is starting in Darwin in 2 weeks, and keep an eye out for BEV support vehicles. Thanks, Hunter.
Yay.
Thank you. We'll do. It's always good fun to watch the Solar Challenge across our Outback. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we can chat about here. We've done Cybertruck, we've done the Semi. Maybe we can do this one. This is the BYD Seal U, again spotted around Sydney, I think. Oh no, this is Melbourne. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Let's have a look.
It's Model Y sized SUV. I mean, now that people are seeing it, I guess I can share. I did see it when it first landed into the country, and from what I can gather, this is more than likely, I think there's a couple of them running around, but this is more than likely the plug-in hybrid. So we have to just keep an eye out. If you guys do spot him, obviously share it with us as well. But there is a plug-in hybrid as well as a pure EV version. So yeah, it's interesting to see what they will actually release whenever that is. But we have to, talk about a bit of a timeline. We've been seeing Seals on the road for majority of 2023 being tested. So if this car is starting its tests now, it's probably going to be third or fourth quarter in 2024 when it would probably be released in the market, if they think our market is good enough. But we need a good large SUV, because that's what people want, as we've seen with Model Y sales.
Yeah, that's correct. I guess it begs the question: should a hybrid really be charging from a DC fast charger? Seems a bit unnecessary to me personally.
Yes.
That's for another day, that question. Yes, Ludicrous Feed, try to get a sponsorship with Porsche AU so you can get a free Porsche Taycan 4S Cross Turismo. Yeah, that'd be nice, a free car. I'll take that any day. We'll see.
Cross Turismos, we still don't have I think that is one of the only wagons in the country, an only electric wagon.
Okay.
So Taycan comes in the sedan and the wagon version. A lot of them you see are sedans. I would love to see one of those wagons out there. But Porsche, if you're watching, we need to get Tom into one.
Happy to test drive for you guys. Oh, Alan's saying there's a 15-minute wait on the Tesla Coffs Harbour supercharger and four superchargers out of order. That's very unusual for Tesla.
Yeah, I don't know. The weather been a bit interesting over there, but
Could be.
That's interesting.
That's very unusual for that kind of downtime for Tesla, but hopefully we'll get that sorted out quickly because Tesla are known for that kind of reliability. Well, keep us up to date, Alan. If you see what's happening up there, maybe tag us on X. Let's whip through some of these other stories. So this is from our good friend Elliot, who is talking about the BYD Seagull.
Yeah, he's got some confirmation to say it's heading to Europe. But I guess he's based in China. He knows quite a bit about what's going on. I personally feel they have made this car like the Dolphin for a global market. It's not as bare bones as some of the other light EVs you see coming out of Europe from Citroen and Renault and others. So this is supposed to be, available in many markets. We sell thousands of Kia Picantos every year, which is a very small ICE car. This is sized similarly to that, full electric. I think it'll be pretty zippy. I'd love to drive one. So, maybe we can get Elliot on in a couple of months' time and he can tell us more about it.
Yeah, I think we'll try and get Elliot back on. That would be a super handy car to have in the city for sure. Yeah, cool. Let's move on to this one. So this is staying with the Chinese vehicle again. This is this MG Cyberster. Looks like a roadster type vehicle.
I mean, what an original name from MG. I wonder where they get the Cyber from.
Yes.
Very cool design. Yeah. It's not the first time. I think XPeng's done those scissor doors in recent years as well. And that red looks pretty cool. I wonder if it's similar to the Ultra Red that you'll find in the new Model 3s. Yep. It's quick. I think it uses the similar sort of a motor setup to the MG4X Power. Because it's just as quick. I think the fastest variant.
Yeah, I'll try and find the speed for you in this article. Okay, it's quite a good review actually through it. Driving.
ADAS systems.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there we go. 4.8 or 3.2 seconds. Okay, it's quicker than the MG4.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
400 kilowatts instead of 320.
Yep, that's incredibly quick. So, will we ever see this in Australia, Riz? That's the question, right?
Yeah, apparently it's going to the UK.
Is it?
Yeah. So Right Hand Drive, UK's got expression of interests opened.
Okay.
Could I see someone, and I think the pricing they're expecting to be around 60,000 euros, which would be in the European market, that's 80, 90 grand here.
Yeah.
Would anyone pay 80, 90 grand for a convertible? Maybe. BMW doesn't sell too many of their what are they called? Z4s and Toyota Supras of the world. So maybe there is a market, but yeah, I'm not sure how many will buy it here over the X-Power.
Yep. Still, it's a niche car that some people will enjoy. And if the price is right, and if the safety profile is okay, you never know.
Where's our Tesla Roadster? Hopefully next year.
Exactly.
2 weeks next year.
Could be the next lawsuit, right? No one's getting the Roadsters. We'll see what happens. All right, just another quick shout out, obviously, to Charles, who regularly joins us. He is the man when it comes to trying to get Tesla superchargers in Australia through the voting platform they have on the Tesla website. So I think this round of voting is about to close, but when the next round comes in, have a look at his link, which I'll place in the video description below. And we'll try and get kind of an en bloc kind of voting where we can try and get a few key sites over the line, which would be good. So stay tuned as well. And we talked about this a bit earlier with the rear-wheel drive Model 3 in the US, but there has been some price cuts overall in the US for Teslas.
Model Y as well. Model Y, after the tax incentives, is getting I think the long range is getting very close to the Toyota RAV4s and Honda CR-Vs, which is what, when we're comparing those SUVs, people are making a decision whether to buy an ICE SUV like a RAV4 or should they go full electric. And it's great to see Model Y coming very close to that. And it's a much more premium, much more connected car with a lot more space. And, if families are buying it, which means there's kids involved, and kids love Teslas. So, anyone considering one, in the US is going to be making those decisions which Model Y should win
Yep.
in that case.
Here's an interesting comment here about kids and EVs. Look at this here, Tassie EV saying, my eldest daughter doesn't want an EV, thinks they're too hard to charge, can't go off-roading,
Yeah.
not like she does that anyway, and some other reasons, all non-reasons. It's funny, isn't it? In this information age, not just EVs, but everything, there's so much information out there. You kind of have to be practical about these things and actually look at your own situation, right? You can list a dozen reasons why EVs won't work for any particular situation, but you need to look at your own situation and you think, is it going to work for me? I'm just going to be driving X number of kilometers a day to work and back, or to school and back, or to uni and back. I don't need to go off road. I don't need to do that long road trip to the outback. It works for 90% of situations, Riz.
I think it's who's got a louder voice, and unfortunately, some of the traditional media has done EVs no justice. But now all of a sudden, people are buying them, and there's pro EV now. But as soon as there's a fire and it's got a Tesla anywhere close to that fire, Tesla calls fire. So it's whatever gets them clickbaity sort of articles out there to get them more views, which unfortunately how they're incentivized. But as Tom mentioned earlier, doing your own research, hopefully some of these myths and others can be disproven, or we can help those people understand the benefits around EVs a lot more. Which education is what's needed.
Education. Yep, it's a good comment from Scott. I'm surprised about how many young people aren't going EVs, even family who could and won't. It's funny. Younger people who say, I'm not going to buy an EV. I love the noise of a V8 or V6 or whatever. I say, well, wait till you start earning some money and see whether you enjoy paying $2.20 at the pump for your petrol. Then you might consider something else.
I had this conversation over a dinner table last night with a few family members, and some of them are EV, that like they like EVs, and others generally don't, and they're all talking about what it costs to fill up a Land Cruiser. And so some of them have them, or I tow a horse float or whatever it is. And you think about these unique cases, and you think, well, that's and how much are they paying? I think the cheapest anyone filled up a tank with was $120. And I can't imagine any EV driver.
Yep.
Well, sorry, I lie, because there is some outback situations where you have to pay $150 or whatever it is to charge. But for most people, paying more than $50 to charge their car. So when you think about those things, when the financials make sense and people are aware of it, and young people can who can afford an EV think about how much they're paying for a petrol car. It's expensive. And then there was someone else that recently told me they spent $3,500 servicing and replacing brakes on a Volkswagen Golf. And now they're saying, well, why have I just spent $3,500 that I'm never going to get back?
Yep.
So it's all of those things will weigh up, and that's why we need vehicles like the Dolphin, we need vehicles like the MG4, and we need vehicles like the Seagull to allow young people to think, oh, maybe it's within my price range. Maybe I should start to research it and come across helpful channels like the Ludicrous feed.
Yeah, I must feel like, we talk about mainstream media and they do it for clickbait or whatever reason, or just getting paid by ICE manufacturers to promote their own vehicles. I don't know what it is. Is it, I don't know why there's so much anti-EV stuff at the moment. If you're clever enough to actually do your own research around the EV space, then you'll actually realize it actually works for my situation most of the time.
Well, and that's exactly right. And, we need more shows like the Melbourne EV show we've had. So consumer shows, we need them back. You cannot, as a manufacturer, you can't continue to sell vehicles at a dealership where a lot of the dealership staff don't always know. Like, I'm reading a lot of comments of MG4 order holders that are going into the dealerships to pick up their cars, and the salespeople are not telling them anything.
No, they have no idea.
So this is, we need education across a lot of different channels. So every time someone interacts, so someone goes in to buy, an MG ICE vehicle, if the dealership, for whatever reason, can convince this person, rather than spending $45,000 on this ICE vehicle, if you think, have you thought about electric, and educate them properly and help them guide to that place where they're ready to test drive one and see why it's different and why it's better, then that would be the most helpful thing. But another way is to do more of these EV shows.
I almost feel like some people are actually just arguing the point just for the sake of it now because they don't want to lose an argument. I mean, I get that. Get that feeling sometimes.
It's and you know, those sort of situations, all we can do is just guide those people to look at the right resources.
Seeing some comments about misinformation. It's true. There's a lot of channels out there that, it's just for whatever reason seem to propagate the wrong thing. I guess it comes down to who's paying for EVs, right? Sure, young people might be misinformed, but they may not have the cash to spend on an EV anyway at the moment, or a car in general. Or if they're getting mum and dad to buy it, then mum and dad's doing the research. Hopefully they come across channels like ours and news shows like ours and get some right facts.
And also the way we buy cars, if people are doing long-term leases or rentals, so a lot of the leasing companies should be guiding people on EVs and why they're better. And it also makes sense for the leasing companies because servicing is lower. So all of these benefits, and if all of us can do the right thing and let people we know about what EVs can and can't do and disprove some of those myths, that's the best that we can do at the moment.
Exactly. We'll just keep doing what we do. We'll keep going with these shows and hopefully set some of these records straight, right, Riz? All right, we might finish off with this article here because I found this quite interesting this week. I read this myself and also was highlighted by one of our viewers who sent me this link. And this is the story that in Europe, they're kind of concerned that a lot of the imports from China are from manufacturers that are getting heavily subsidized for each vehicle. Like for example, NIO, each car that they make is losing $55,000. And that's obviously threatening Europe's manufacturing because they can't compete on that kind of level. We haven't seen that same concern yet in Australia, but in Europe, that's what they're really worried about, and I'm assuming US too, because they've got this huge tariff on cars that don't have batteries made in the US. So interesting, isn't it?
It's really interesting, all the barriers that are being put up in Europe for EV makers out of China to not enter there. But at the same time, you have European factories. Volkswagen's not producing many EVs in the first 2 weeks of this month because they reckon that there's not enough demand for them. So what are the ICE makers trying to do? Are they trying to hold off competition? Which I understand that, it's no good to dump stuff into a particular market, right? We've seen that in Australia where there were, Italian tomato makers or whatever dumping canned tomatoes into Australia for 50 cents a can or whatever it was. It's no good doing this sort of stuff. But the right EV makers, I'm not sure where NIO sits, but BYD and others that are entering those markets, they're doing it so that they will either make money from the day dot or they will make money in very soon. So when you think about those things, would like to think that there's healthy competition. The more barriers we put up, whatever happens, the Chinese EV makers will find a way to enter the market.
And to be fair, this article actually does mention BYD, that it's actually one of the few EV manufacturers out of China that actually is making money and is a sustainable brand as well. So yes, they're pointing out one brand like NIO, but I'm sure there are a few other brands too that are loss leaders at the moment.
That's right. One other quick point, I think as we were scrolling down, I had a quick look and it looks like they're comparing this particular article. It's trying to compare the loss that the company such as NIO is making and then maybe putting it or averaging it out across all the vehicles they sell, which could be slightly misleading. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what the article is saying, but sometimes these headlines are somewhat misleading because NIO is still like what Tesla was 5-6 years ago. They've developed a product, they're entering new markets, it costs a lot of money. Tesla was losing money for a long period of time before they started to make money. Rivian is going through that same phase. Lucid and others must be losing like tens of thousands on every car they sell. But it's about what does that look like in the near future. So if NIO lands into Europe and they're selling vehicles there, in 2 years' time, when they can get their volumes up and they can get better supply chains, and hopefully it encourages them to set up manufacturing in Europe, it's only going to be better for European consumers. But at the moment, a lot of the European car makers are basically saying, well, they're coming onto our turf and eating our lunch too, while losing money. And then there's some other media that's putting out that the Chinese government is backing a lot of this stuff up. Who knows what's true? But the reality is, Chinese automakers, China now is the biggest exporter of vehicles. That's a fact. They've overtaken
no
Japan.
secret. Yep.
So if the EVs are what consumers want in European markets, and European manufacturers are shutting factories because they think there's no demand, someone doesn't know what's really going on the ground.
No.
So we need more EVs.
And the bottom line is are people in Europe and Australia and US for that matter, are they that nationalistic? Counting Europe as one big nation, like, are they that nationalistic to buy European when cost of living is rising? Are they just going to look at their own hip pocket and go, well, the Chinese brands are cheaper, I'm just going to buy Chinese?
We look at it today. The amount of people that shop at Kmart, right? Yeah, and you think a lot of things are imported. Nothing is really made here.
Yeah, that's right.
So we do it here today with our, when we think about spending $1 or $2, larger purchases, the same story. If brands like Volvo, Geely-owned Zeekr, and Polestar are entering European markets and they're able to sell their cars, although a lot of them are made in China as well, they're able to sell their cars. Nobody's really questioning them, and they don't really consider them as Chinese automakers. And there's
Swedish.
no barriers being put up there.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, if NIO or BYD is entering, there's an issue. Then I think, people need to do their own research, and hopefully you're watching the right things, likes of Ludicrous Feed and others in Europe, like Beyond Island, who are testing these cars on a monthly basis, and then you get the real deal. And if that car at that price suits you, then it's better to buy an EV than an ICE car.
Yeah, maybe the future is in collaboration, right? It's always better to play nicely together. Whether BYD have a plant or whatever it is in Europe to make Europeans feel happy that this brand has got some leverage in Europe or some grounding in Europe, rather than just being a Chinese alien brand coming in to reap the benefits. I don't know what the answer is, but it's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
And just the last little point on Tesla, they still import. That's why they're caught in this as well, because they're bringing a lot of their vehicles into the market, particularly the Model 3s. And Model Ys in many European markets are coming out of China, same plant that supplies us. But now they've got a factory in Germany, and they're selling more cars than anyone, when it comes to the quality EVs that are being sold in Germany. The German automakers, the boardrooms must be very tense at the moment, because now it's no longer imports trying to stop NIO and others. When Tesla's selling thousands of cars every month, they're made in Germany, employing German people. People can't be, these companies need to pull their head out and think about, if we keep stopping them, they'll find a way.
Yep.
It's better to focus on creating good products and delivering the value to the customers than trying to stop competition, because that's not healthy for anyone.
Yeah, maybe it's a PR exercise. These Chinese brands need to say, we're actually investing in Europe or in the US or Australia.
Yeah.
We're not just here to sell you cars, right? We're actually putting back in the community. And just on that note, I'm always amused when someone in the comments or someone in real life says, I'm not going to buy Chinese. Well, you're actually writing your comment on a keyboard or a device that's probably got Chinese components in it. So again, probably some misinformed comments there overall. All right, well, gents and ladies in the chat, that might be it for today. So Riz, again, many thanks for joining me today in central Melbourne for this live stream.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here. I think there's a lot for us to sort of learn and share from our audience and others as well. And yeah, hopefully it's been informative for everybody today. And thanks for joining us at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for the special time. We will try to get back to 8 a.m. on a Saturday, as always. It just depends sometimes with my schedule as well, with my young family, but we'll try our best to keep to that regular time for you guys. But I do appreciate everyone joining us at an odd time today. So hopefully you guys and girls watching live will have a nice afternoon with whatever you're doing. Stay safe, everyone. And yeah, question from Jez, why am I Melbourne? Yes, doing a trip with Polestar 2. Again, that video will be coming out very shortly, documenting that journey. And yeah, and then Tassie's looking forward to that Polestar 2 road trip too. So that's coming. Had a very fun time with the family driving down. All right, Riz, thanks for joining us again. And I'll see you on Wednesday, I guess.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye now.